All right, it is May 2nd, Lake the Ozarks Fishing Report. Water level is 656.5, so 3 foot above full pool, but we're up there about normal for this time of year. You know, we've got plenty of water in the lake for pretty much all the ramps around the lake. So, you know, that's a good thing with all the boats wanting to put in now that it's spring. Water temperature anywhere from, I'm going to say 58 to 62. Most mornings here, we've had some cool mornings. If any of you have been out for the last few days, you know, the wind's been blowing a little bit. You know, was out, let's see, Sunday we was out and it was blowing, you know. I was glad I was in this Vexus cutting across some big waves. No problem, stayed dry. But if you're out, you know, the last 3 days at least, we've had some really cool nights. And that's just you know, keeps that water from raising and getting up above 60s. You know, it drops down into mid to upper 50s at night, the surface temp, you know, and then it'll creep back up, warm up throughout the day if we get bright, sunny. You know, of course, if it's warm and windy, that really stirs up that surface, puts a lot of oxygen in the surface, moves that plankton around a lot. It just does a lot for the water system. So, yeah, it's kind of a pain to deal with the wind, but it really gets things going. The fish bite pretty good when it's windy. That's usually you know, a low pressure system if it's real windy. You know, so it just gets the fish going. You know, fishing here, man, well, real quick, the water clarity, you know, the lower end, say from the toll bridge to the dam, up to Gravois, say, I don't know, 4 miles up to Gravois is probably your clearest. The lower end of the Niagara is pretty clear. You know, as far as the best bed fishing areas, you know, for sight fishing. But the water's pretty clear, man, throughout the lake as far as seeing beds, if that's what you're wanting to do. I mess with them a little bit. I'll be honest. I don't really sit on and literally bed fish a whole lot. I'll play with them, and if they're pretty aggressive, and they want to bite pretty quick, obviously I'll catch them like that. I've been doing pretty good, a lot better just fishing around beds or out from beds, looking for the better fish. You know, I've seen a lot of little males up on the beds, and any of them that we're catching are, you know, 14 to 16 inches. You know, but some of the better fish we've been catching are kind of hanging off. I really think this last week with the cool front, the way it's been, man, it's kind of put these fish kind of in just a holding pattern. It just stalled them out. You know, I'd say maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, whenever the bass was, well, we had a bunch move up that week, and that temperature was perfect. It was a good steady warming trend. It stayed sunny, stayed warm, and a lot of them went ahead and moved up and spawned, you know. But then we had you know, the cold front and all, and I think a lot of those fish, I'm seeing a lot of empty beds, and I know they haven't all come in and spawned and left. I think some of them went in and they back off during the night, but then I noticed a lot towards the end of the day, late in the day, the beds, some fish will move back up. They'll come back up and work them beds. So, you know, if you're not seeing beds early in the morning, you may check the same ones in the afternoon, and then fish move up and start working them beds. You know, as far as the baits, you know, all over on the baits, you know, it's spring. You can catch them on a lot of different things. You still catch them, you know, on spinner baits, you know, a big spinner bait, big 3/4 ounce spinner bait, a couple of double willows on it. I usually put a little swim. This is Reaction Innovations, I believe, little chartreuse silver swim bait. I put it on the back and go work these windy points. Haven't had any trouble finding windy points in the last few days, but there's a lot of big females hanging out off them points, and they'll just suspend out there and hang out. You know, and them are really good fish to catch good quality fish. You're probably not going to catch a lot of them throughout the day, but you know, if you can put together 4 to 6 bites of spinnerbait fish out on main lake points, bluff ends, those are 4 or 5 fish that's going to get you a win in some of these tournaments. You know, like I said, I expect this week, you know, the MLF invitationals here this week. So there's been a lot of guys, a lot of pros out there fishing since Sunday. I've been seeing quite a bit of them out on the lake. So I'm sure I'm sure some of them are catching them. Obviously, there's always something figured out. But I'm gonna say they probably had kind of a tough go here the last couple of days. But you're gonna see a big change here come Thursday, Friday. We got a whole new weather system coming in, but it's a warm system coming out of the south. Clouds, rainy. These fish are going to move and they're going to feed hard and they're going to bite really good for these guys. So I expect to see some pretty good bags come in, and it's also going to open up a lot other styles or other techniques. It's not going to be all just bed fishing, guys running around looking for beds, flipping up on beds. You're going to be able to do a lot of other things because of that overcast, warm system, low pressure system coming in. There's going to be a lot of other things come into play. You know, as far as baits, if I had to pick one right now, let's see, if I had to pick one just for numbers, it would be a Wacky rigged Cinco of some sort. We caught, let's see, the other day we went out and I don't know how many fish we caught. We caught a lot of fish. Probably about 6 or 7 keepers. Nothing real big, maybe a 3-pounder, pushing 3, you know. Most of them were little males probably, 14 to 17 inches. But I'll take 5 of them to begin with, especially if it's tough. But just a green pumpkin, red flake is all I've been throwing. I will take this chartreuse pin and chartreuse up these little tails on each end of it. You know, as that thing's sinking and you start working it and it flexes like that chartreuse is flexing kind of like some of these bluegill. You know, right now during the spawn, the bluegill is the natural predator of the fish eggs, and the bass know that. So if any bluegill or anything that looks like a bluegill or mimics a bluegill or acts like a bluegill gets up around them beds, they're gonna run up and either chase it off, bite it, or eat it. One of the 3, you know. So it's just a good bait. This time of year, it's very subtle. It's worked really well the last few days because it's so slow and subtle and pretty much finessey. You know, this is a 30-pound high-vis yellow braid, and then I have a 10-pound fluorocarbon leader on there. So it's pretty much a finessey bait. Had some guys asking me about the hooks. These are #1 owner sickle hooks is what they are. Let's see if I can find them real quick. So I can tell you exactly what we're using here. These are the owner. I always call them sickle hook, but they're calling them a. Let's see. I don't have my glasses, so I can't see. But it is a #1. I'm still going to call it a sickle hook. Owner makes it, and these have been the best hook for this setup here recently. It's just the right size. It's big enough. Every fish you hook is hooked in the hard part of the mouth, and they don't come loose. So, you know, if you haven't thrown the Wacky style setup, it's extremely productive this time of year, and it will be for another good month. You know, and this is basically this is a medium 7-foot Falcon spinning rod, Cara, and you see I have it. You know, spinning reels don't matter a whole lot. Just a good quality one, so you don't have too much trouble with them. You know, good quality. It's like any of your reels. A good quality reel is just smoother. The action, the bail works better. The drag works better. The reel, you know, the handle, just everything about it. This is just one of them. Lou's Orange Crush. I've got several other. I've got some Shimano's. I've got a Fluger. You know, but a good quality one. You know, so basically what we're trying to do is skip these sinkos, skip them way back up underneath them catwalks. That's where some of these fish are. That's where they'll hide out. That's where they'll post up and wait to come in. There's a lot of fishermen out there, a lot of pressure. So these fish aren't going to roam. They're not going to be out in the open a whole lot as you get a lot of pressure. So it's important, like any time here at the Ozarks, to get the baits back as far back as you can get it, where most people probably are not going to get it in order to get the bites. As far as where, man, that's wide open. As far as you can go in some of these major creeks, look for little subtle pockets, not necessarily bigger pockets, and just work it from the point all the way back to the very back and see where you're getting bites. Just a perfect example the other day, we started on kind of a point, a main lake point, and this pocket was probably, I don't know, 60 yards, 70 yards deep. And we started on that pocket, and we got a couple right off the bat, right off the point, close to the bank, underneath some catwalks. We got back, caught a few. As we got further back, we weren't getting bites. So we came back out to the main lake on the other side and caught them right away. So, these fish, these shorter pockets, you can fish from main lake, point, all the way to the back pretty quick, in less than an hour maybe. And that's going to tell you pretty quick where they're at on that particular day. These shark pockets, they'll work from the point all the way to the back in a day. So if they're on a point one day, the next day, good warming trend or weather's right or what have you, moon phase, they might move to the back to where pea flat or pea gravel and spawn, but not necessarily all of them will go back there. A lot of them will spawn just inside a main lake point, just underneath the first couple docks. If you got a little flat shelf before it rolls off and dumps, they'll get up on there and they'll do their thing. So you kind of got to play with it. Like always, just kind of figure it out. Fish from the front to the back until you get a couple bites and see if if you are getting bites further towards the point or further towards the back, and then just duplicate it. That's all you need to do right now. So that's probably going to be my number one bait, or it is my number one bait right now as far as just catching fish and keepers. The big ones, it will definitely catch big ones. I just haven't seen it this past week or so, but I'm blaming a lot of that on just the weather and maybe what these bigger fish are doing. Other baits, obviously, your shaky head, your quarter ounce crappie head or shaky pro head with a watermelon red flake mag finesse worm has been working real good. If they want it definitely on the bottom, you probably can't beat this bait. I'm throwing it on 12-pound fluorocarbon and doing the same thing, flipping it up to the bank and working it out. Probably out to 8, 10 foot of water, 12 foot of water, and I'm trying to obviously get it up by the cables, up on the catwalks, behind the boat docks, anywhere you get a little shade line, right where that sun and shade meet, right there. Them fish will come out, and they'll kind of sneak out and hang there a lot of times, or they'll hang just underneath that dock, and you flip that bait up in there, and they see it hit, and they'll come out from under them docks and grab it. So you got to be ready, when you're flipping up in them docks or behind them docks. Most of your bites are going to be on the initial fall, or as this bait hits the bottom, and as soon as you pick it up, that's when they'll get it. So just be ready, for a quick bite. So that bait obviously is producing now, and it's going to produce for quite a while. Probably the number one bait on the lake throughout most of the year, just day in, day out, is a quarter ounce shighead with the mag finesse worm, or the finesse worm, which is a little longer. Another bait that obviously we throw all springs, we've been throwing them for over 30 years, is a Crappie Gator 4-inch super salty flipping tube. This is that black neon for a little bit dirtier water. Not that you gotta change a whole lot. This black neon to catch them anywhere. Clear water, dirty water, whatever. It's kind of like black and blue. You know, we'll do the same thing. It's just rigged on a 1/4 ounce tungsten weight with a number 4 EWG hook. Works perfect in these 4-inch flipping tubes. You've got a big hook in this tube, so you know the deal with a tube is it gets a lot of bites because of all of its action, its erratic movement, fall. It doesn't fall the same all the time. It just looks like something natural, and fish really bite these well in the spring. The only deal with a tube is sometimes your hookup ratio. So the bigger hook you can get in it, the better you are. This is a wire EWG. That's another thing I really stress is getting a wire EWG. It'll come through that plastic a lot easier, and the EWG gives that plastic somewhere to go, so it still leaves a lot of hookup ratio room for that tube once you set the hook. You know, obviously you just bring it through that tube and just barely pinch just the point of that tube in there. So as soon as they grab it, or as soon as you set the hook, that pops right out, and you set them. You know, you'll get them hooked up. So that I'm flipping it on 15-pound fluorocarbon, and I'm flipping it under docks. The tube will skip really well. If you like to skip or you want to skip, and you're not the best at it, a tube is really forgiving as far as being able to skip it. You know, it'll skip real easy. Where maybe if you're having trouble skipping a jig or a worm or something like that, a tube will tend to skip a lot easier. So a lot of these fish are just biting something on the fall, just out of reaction, whether it be around their beds or they're feeding. We actually caught some post-spawn bass the other day. Their tails were healing up. You can kind of see when they're healing up. You can tell the difference. Some of them, they're raw. They're either on the bed, working the bed, or they've just come off. Compared to these fish were already, they're kind of healing up. So obviously there's a group. It's probably not a very big group, but have been in. They've spawned, and they're done, and they're kind of moving out. But at the same time, there's a lot of fish. The majority of them are moving in now. So we've got both pre-spawn, spawning, and post-spawn bass right now. But they're crossing paths right now. So it's a good time a year, you know, as far as, you know, being here, actually anywhere, any lake right now. The fish are really biting, a lot of good numbers. As you see here in another, I'll say 2 weeks, we'll see a lot of different patterns starting to fire up, you know, more of a post-spawn pattern. We'll talk about that in a couple weeks. So the tube, one of my favorite baits to throw this time of year, has been forever, along with just a jig, a little 3/8 ounce zapper jig, just with a ring crawl on it. A lot more subtle, a lot more finessey. You know, kind of just get it in front of them, get it around their beds, and they'll come up and eat it. Obviously it's an easy small meal. If it's whatever, if the fish are just being finicky, a lot of times that small bait will get the bites. Some other things I really like to flip, or right now, bigger baits. Well, when these fish are really feeding good, kind of like coming this weekend, some bigger baits, like a full-size Zoom brush hog, just Texas rig it, you know, with a 1/4 ounce weight. Just your full-size one. Maybe take that chartreuse pin and chartreuse the ends of of your brush hog there, where it has all that movement down here on the end. Them things twirl down, look just like a bluegill around them fish. You know, another good one, no secret anymore, but very productive this time of year, is the Crappie Swamp Bug Senior. The full size green pumpkin purple, green pumpkin red, or just straight green pumpkin, same thing. I'll play with the chartreuse marker, like on each one of these tentacles coming off. I might do every other one with chartreuse. I might do them all chartreuse. If I'm in dirty water, I might just do a couple of the front ones, and maybe a little bit of the tail, just to make it look like a bluegill with that chartreuse. So this time of year, I really put a lot of emphasis on the color and making it really look like a bluegill, since that's kind of their main thing that's bugging them, bothering them, and they're running off these beds. So the Swamp Bug Senior and the Zoom full-size brush hog, or even the mid-size brush hog. They also have a baby brush hog if you want to Texas rig those. On the big ones, you can put a 4 or 5 EWG in those. The medium, I usually do a 3 or 4 EWG, and then the baby, I'll do a 2 EWG on that. Obviously, you want it to have a big enough hook to come out and get a good hook set on, but you don't want too big a one that's going to kill the action of the bait. So it's kind of one of them fine deals, and then obviously a little more finessey with the baby brush hog. Maybe rig it like on a 3/16 bullet head. Maybe go down to 10 or 12 pound test. It might get you a lot more bites. Those baits are our bottom baits. Obviously a little 4-inch finesse bait. Little finesse worm is really good bed bait. Rigged on a 3/16 or 1/4 ounce stand up shaky football head. Got the chartreuse tail. And that thing falling down in the bed or around the bed is just deadly. Or not even around beds, just that small little bait just gets a lot of bites. So that's something you might want to throw like on a spinning rod and reel setup with that braid and that fluorocarbon leader. One thing I will say about this the braid, this high vis, how important the high vis yellow is, especially with the Wacky rig, because you're skipping it in there and that bait's falling real slow, and you let this braid just float. It's just floating on top of the water till it gets to your leader. Your leader's falling first because it's fluorocarbon, it's falling down, and that braid is floating on top of that water, and you can really see it. And you just watch that line, and if a fish hits it, it don't take much, and you'll see that line dart with that high vis yellow. You'll really see it, or it'll just start swimming off, or it'll start tightening up on you. So the high vis yellow braid will just help you tremendously on catching or seeing and detecting a bite right away. So that particular bait, they tend to hang on to it for a long time, giving you a lot of chance to, obviously detect the bite and get them hooked. So where was I going with that? Oh, the little 4-inch finesse head. You may want to throw something like this on this braid with the lighter leader. Just get more bites if you're going to be kind of finessey with it. Other baits that are working, they're working pretty good, and they're only going to get better, and that's a swim bait. A lot of different sizes. This is just a 3/8 ounce head with a little 3.8 Kitech on it, and this is deadly. Like using your live scope, if you see some fish suspended out there, you can throw past them and bring it by them a few times, see if they're going to react, see if they're worth messing with. But just a little 3/8 ounce heads with an exposed hook, deadly this time of year for both pre-spawn and post-spawn bass. It's really good. It's going to come on really good here in a few weeks. Throwing different sizes, obviously, either like a small one like the 2.8 or the 4.3 Kitech is working really well right now. Just in a shad color. Same deal. You can put a little chartreuse on the back tail, or maybe up on the head, or maybe like some fake on these rings on them Kitechs. You can kind of like come back a couple of them and take a red pencil and kind of mark it like gills, just to make it look real, and swim that around the beds, or like just out off points alongside the docks, or just alongside the sides of the docks, or even the outside braces of these docks. And you'll be amazed. If for whatever reason fish back out and they suspend out there, you can catch them on these swim baits. It's a good bait to catch a lot of fish, and you can catch some of the big females. It's just an easy, slow moving bait that will really get a lot of bites. So that's another bait. If you can't catch them off the bottom, and if we haven't been catching them off the bottom, I'll usually go with a swim bait pretty quick. one of my first things that I'll change to, and see if I can't get draw or generate some bites like that. So basically I'm on the bottom, and now this is kind of mid-range through the water column to see if they're suspended. And then when they get really aggressive, and they like they're going to probably this weekend, I expect. You got your Crappie Gator buzzbait, 3/4 ounce buzzbait, the old school one with the skirt, or the X-Bite with the frog is going to work good too. A nice trailer hook, because a lot of times, well, always throw a trailer hook on your buzzbait, but especially now they're kind of just running up and not really attacking it, but chasing it, and they'll nip at that tail, and they'll get that trailer hook. But throwing that thing, around spawning pockets, up over them cables, anywhere these fish are going to be up in there and get sneaky. The buzzbait is really good. The only deal with the buzzbait right now, we've got all this pollen, that's coming off these trees, and it's floating on the surface. So sometimes you can make it a little difficult until that wind blows it off. It'll get wrapped up in the blade. So sometimes the buzzbait's the best bait, but you can't be really productive with it because it's being hampered by all that stuff in the water. So the next best bait, at least I like this time of year, is just the old chug bug. This is a storm chug bug. This is in a baby bass color. Kind of got the white. It looks like it looks just like a bass, baby bass. It's got the green sides with the scales, dark back, and then it's got the feather tail. That thing is just a really, really productive topwater bait this time of year. Obviously, you can throw it past the bed, pop it up to the bed, and just let it sit there right above their heads. Make a good long cast where you see a bed. If you get up there and you see a bed, and you see fish on it, back off, throw that topwater right on top of it, work it up to it, and let it sit there. Let it sit there 30 seconds sometimes, and then start popping it, and that's when they'll come up. Because they know that thing's above them. They're watching it, they're paying attention, but as soon as you move it again, a lot of times that's all it takes, and they'll fire up and they'll hit it. Both really good for pre-spawn, spawners, and post-spawn, especially post-spawn. That's only going to get better here probably this week and for the next month. Those are extremely productive baits, along with the good old spook. Probably one of my favorite times to throw a spook is in the spring, just on a 7-foot medium action rod. This is one of Vertus. I use this rod for all kinds of stuff. Wiggle arts, it works great for it. Works really good for my topwater baits. And I got it rigged up with 12 or 14 monofilament for these baits. So it floats, gives your bait all the action. You can see I've changed out the hooks on it. Them are Mustad Ultra Point hooks. Really good gripping hooks. Yamagata makes good ones. Owners makes good ones. You just want to switch out your hooks on these spooks. A lot of times it's same deal. The bite's just a little different this time of year. They're not always really eating that bait. A lot of times you'll see with a spook, for some reason, especially this time of year, or even with the chug bug, you'll see them fish come up. You'll see them coming for a long way. Their mouth's not even open. They just headbutt the bait to get it out of there, or push it, or intimidate it, wherever. But a lot of times they'll just come up and nip at it like, biting at a bluegill or biting at whatever's in their area. And if you got good sharp hooks, you'll catch them, and you'll get them hooked. And a lot of times you'll just have them on that back hook, just because of the way they're biting it right now, it's compared to like the fall where they just crush it and eat it like it's a big shad. They're feeding on this topwater this time of year a little different, more of a defensive bite, I guess you would call it. But the spook, we've been starting to catch them on it. Not real good yet, but that could change any day as you've got more and more fish coming off of the beds. more fish up on beds. But the post-spawn bite is coming. Probably, like I said, we caught some already, some post-spawners. But this week and next week, we're going to see a lot of post-spawn fish. Maybe I'll catch them a lot like that, So that's kind of a quick rundown of what we're doing right now, what's working. As far as area of the lake, we've been all over, been in the Glaze, been on the lower end, been up, Hurricane Deck a little above. Haven't been way, way up the river, but I'm sure a lot of post-spawn fish up there, already. Water's probably a little dirtier, you get a little closer to them, a little shallower. But the whole lake is fishing about the same right now. It's fishing really good. You can expect to catch a lot of fish. There'll be a lot of shorts, a lot of males. They're usually what bites and defends that bed first. If they can't get the job done, then the female comes in and takes care of business. So if you catch a male or two, kind of stay in that area and expect maybe to pull that female up after you've caught the male. So, man, it's a good time. This weekend's going to be busy, I'm sure. I've heard only good things from some of the residents down here about the MLF pros, about being real courteous and friendly. That's what we want for this sport. You just don't want to see anything negative around the sport of fishing, and you don't see it very often, because people are here, they're enjoying things, enjoying lives, they're doing it with their kids, their wives, their friends, whatever. Just keep it good. Don't complain about fishing. We don't need that. So, man, that's really about does it. Gives you a pretty good rundown. If you're coming down this weekend to fish, I know there's anglers. Let's see, we're going to Table Rock for BFL Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Coming home, anglers in action on Sunday, and I'm sure there's some other tournaments, a lot of tournaments, club tournaments. I think the Carpenters tournament's this coming weekend. So there'll be a lot of boats on the water, but nothing different. There's plenty of water. There's plenty of fish. These big number tournaments, the last several times we've been at Table Rock, all I've heard pre-tournament is, oh my guys, there's so many boats. There's 1,000 boats here. There's 400 over here. There's none. We get out there and start fishing, you don't even see boats. Or you'll see one or two on the other side. Plenty of water, plenty of fish. Don't let it bother you. Don't let it get in your mind. Don't let the mental game of fishing hurt you. Fishing's all about mental. I don't care what anyone tells you. 80% of fishing is mental. You got to have a positive outlook on it, what you're doing, where you're at. If you don't have confidence in whatever bait you're using, just put it down and pick up whatever you have in confidence, because that's a big part of it. You're going to make more accurate casts. You're going to work the bait better, more efficient. You're going to spend more time in it. You're going to pay attention to the bait a lot longer, and all that stuff comes into play as far as detecting a bite or getting a bite or working the bait properly, not too fast. So just keep a good mental focus when you're fishing any particular bait, and whatever. Just keep yourself focused and don't get distracted by any kind of negative talk, whether it be, like I said, a lot of boats or fishing, whatever. We're not hurting these lakes. These lakes are so full of fish. Last week during the trips, I made comments several times how many fish we were catching. And we caught fish they were 4-inch bass. And we caught 3-4 pounders, a lot of 14 inchers, a lot of 15 just all over the place. So that's just telling me we've got good spawns down here. These fish are healthy. And, like early, February, March, you're like, man, are you saying catching any fish? Well, they're all up now, and we're seeing how many fish and how healthy this lake system is. Been down at Table Rock, like I said. I know this is an Ozark report, but the Table Rock, I can't believe how many fish are in Table Rock. The smallmouth Kentuckies, like you would go down there and you just catch so many fish. I know it's because it's a deep, clear, big lake. Um, but we're seeing that and experiencing it now these last couple of weeks here at the Ozarks. The amount of fish that we're catching now is just, incredible. How quick it changes just a couple of weeks, and everything. Like I said last week, though, this is the time of year when everything, all the bass have to come shallow sooner or later, and it's just bringing them up, and making them acceptable to catch it. Now as far as early spring or summer or fall, why we're not catching as many, what it seems like, those fish are there. These fish are getting educated and they're feeding different. And Lake Ozarks been going through a lot of change that I've seen the past several years. Mainly how, I'm going to say current. When they run current, they may run it in the winter, a lot of current in the winter. They may run a lot more current during the summer. The lake may stay lower, may come up, but the lake's kind of fluctuating a lot more than it seemed like it had in the past, along with the lake being either a little dirtier in the past couple of years, or like this year, really, really clean and clear. And I think these fish are they're feeding different, they're acting different. They might act more like a river system fish compared to like a lake fish, which the current is the big change there. So I just think they're kind of changing how they feed, how they set up their feeding habits, and it's up to us to figure that out and catch them. But they're out there, I promise you, because we're catching them. So come on down, get on the lake. If Denise or I can help you with anything, crappie, I don't want to overlook crappie. Crappie is still really good. It's going to be good, I'm going to say, up until after Mother's Day, and then it starts kind of, dissipating as far as how easy they are and how many you catch. So once they get to post spawn, they'll kind of back out. They'll still group up. They'll get under these docks, but they're not quite as easy to catch. You can still catch them, but they'll kind of scatter for a while until they group up, until like summer when we start trolling crankbaits and stuff like that. But crappie's still real good. I don't think you can throw anything out there. You can throw a little Mr. Twister tail. You can throw road runners. You can throw like a Bobby Garland little straight tail worm, the Kitech Easy Shiner. We're still throwing that on a 16th ounce head or an 8th ounce head. If it's windy, you got to cast a ways, but just cast it to the bank right now and reel that thing in steady. Pea gravel mix. A lot of crappie are either working or living or suspending in open dock slips just off the main lake, or maybe back in the creeks, just a first dock off of a point. If you've got an open slip on the front part, the bank side has, 3 to 4 foot of water, and the front side of the dock has 15 or 18, just cast your bait all the way to the front, count it down a little bit, and just start working it. Different water depths. If you've got live scope, you just pan around and see if they're in there. If they're in there, you cast in there and you catch them. If you don't have live scope, just test it. Just work down towards the bottom, work halfway up, work midway up, work a little faster, a little slower, give little twitches. Just see what generates you a bite on any given day. But right now, you can work them open slips and catch plenty of fish, especially the big cruiser docks. The bigger docks with the big swim platform, if you've got an open slip that connects to that swim platform, that's where you're going to catch a lot of fish. Those big cruiser docks have a lot of braces, underwater cross braces that them fish will like to suspend on, along with the big shade that the swim platforms make. A lot of them have cables. They'll suspend on them cables. Your no weight buoys, those cables, the crappie will suspend on them out in the middle, or towards the mouth of coves, midway back. It's amazing how little it takes to hold a fish. Just like you're bedding fish right now, spawning fish, if there's a cable 6 inches above the water, 1 3/4 inch, 1 inch cable, a bass will bed right underneath that cable every single time. They know it's above them. I guess they think they're protected or hidden, whatever, but it doesn't take much to hold these fish. So, all right, I think I spent pretty much all I can, told you pretty much everything I know right now. We'll be here this weekend, and then we're going on a little trip for a week or so, a week and a half, and then we'll be back, and I'll fill you back in on what's going on. So we've got some really good fishing coming up here. These next few weeks are real good, and then the fishing is going to get just amazing and excellent. I mean, just the best time of year from late May to late June. Numbers, size, a lot of all kind of different techniques to catch them. It's just a lot of fun. So if we can and help you out, or show you just a good time, how good fishing can be, or show you different techniques, help you with your electronics, whatever we can do to help you, give myself a call, 573-204-9005, or Denise, 314-226-3099, and get your kids out, get your wives out, your girlfriends, your friends. Just come out, get out, go fishing, have a good time. So wear your life jackets, be careful, and we will see you in a couple weeks.